Anyone can create a fancy email that sounds very believable. And you can have voice-generated phone calls. So it's a different landscape than before when the emails were maybe formatted a little weird. You didn't recognize the voice. All that goes away with AI.
From Tyler Technologies, this is the Tyler Tech Podcast, where we explore the trends, technologies, and people shaping the public sector. I'm your host, Josh Henderson. Thanks so much for listening. The month of October marks Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we're bringing you a special two-part series recorded live at Tyler Connect 2025 in San Antonio. In part one, I'm joined by Ryan Jacobson, Manager of Software Engineering, and Sonya Newell, Team Lead in Cybersecurity at Tyler. Together, we explore the rapidly evolving cybersecurity landscape and the growing role of artificial intelligence, both as a powerful tool for innovation and as a force reshaping risks. We'll also look at what this means for public sector agencies and why resilience, adaptability, and organizational culture matter more than ever. Let's get right into it. We hope you enjoy. All right, Sonya, Ryan, welcome to the Tyler Tech Podcast, and thank you both for joining me. Let's start by setting the stage. What are some of the most pressing cybersecurity challenges public sector agencies are facing right now?
So, one of the key risks right now that all agencies face is ransomware, phishing. People are the primary target, and they're usually the weakest link. So there's a lot of that going on. The other thing is zero-day threats. You don't obviously know, what could go wrong with some of the systems you have. And the other targets that are really big are the Internet of Things, a lot of legacy technology.
And then with AI, the social engineering, the phishing, it enables all those things the bar goes lower. Anyone can create a fancy email that sounds very believable. You can have voice-generated phone calls. Now I sound like Josh all of a sudden, and I trust a phone call from Josh. I hear your voice. So it's a different landscape than before when the emails were maybe formatted a little weird. You didn't recognize the voice. All that goes away with AI.
Yeah, I wanted to, before we kind of move forward, wanted to get you both to kind of define this idea of zero-day vulnerabilities or zero-day threats. I know from my perspective, it's something that I necessarily wasn't super familiar with, so I just wanted to get some more insight on that.
Well, when you're developing an application, there are things that can slip in that you may not be aware of, and users may not be aware of it, the organization may not be aware of it, and then someone somewhere, it may actively be trying to get into these types of systems, and it's not announced. So something will happen on a 0 day. And I think there's actually a series out called 0 Day on one of the channels, but it's something, it's out there, you don't know what it is, and it's taken advantage of before people can respond.
You've got teams of people, both the good people and the bad people, looking for those things. And the good people can make money finding these things. Mm-hmm. And the bad people are also trying to make money by selling the idea of these things. So that's always what people are looking for to break down a system, because nobody knows about it. There's no defense.
Right. It's a tricky situation, absolutely. Now, speaking to that point a little bit, how have these threats changed over the last few years, especially as more agencies move services online and adopt these sort of modern technologies?
The biggest thing is everything moving to the cloud. You no longer have that perimeter where I've got everything in-house. I've got my barrier set. You can only get to it when I'm in town hall, and now everything's in the cloud. And so you're relying on your authentication to say, hey, I'm me. So you got to have your multi-factor in place, some monitoring, hopefully, to say, hey, why are you logging in from Guam today, where you were in Maine yesterday? So all those kind of concepts of tracking who's accessing what from anywhere, the cloud.
Yeah, and similarly, configuration. You think about configuration in systems. There may be things that you may not have needed to put into place a couple of years ago, or they may not have been available. So you've got to keep current on the current trends in the software you use and the systems you use, and just make sure that you're on top of patching Another big thing.
Making sure software's up to date, making sure you're kind of not missing any sort of gaps along the way.
Keeping up with training, like it's a different, like the skill sets on-prem versus clouds are slightly different. It's the same ideas, but it's just a different mindset of how you're securing those things.
Yeah.
As opposed to having it all under your desk or whatever it was, your server room. It's just a different mindset, different skill set, but same concepts.
AI has quickly become part of the conversation as well, and not just for defenders, like you're saying earlier. How is AI being used today in both cyber attacks and defense efforts? So like on both sides of the coin, how would you say it's being used as a technology?
So you think about defense, you can use AI to analyze traffic that's coming to your organization, different tools implement that. I think when you're talking offense, it's a different world in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, the defense is always, in any sport, and AI attacks the same. Offense always, I don't want to say they always win. They always have the advantage. They're always a step ahead. They know what they're planning on doing. So defense is always lagging because they're trying to react to what the offense is doing. So you're always playing that kind of catch-up game. And that's what they say, AI, in our opening session, they talk about the pace of change is just growing rapidly. So the pace of defense has to grow at that same pace, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's just this, like I said earlier, the bar is so low now for someone to do something sneaky. It's incredible.
Yeah. As a basketball fan, I hear defense wins championships a lot. So I don't know if that extends to the world of cybersecurity, but it sounds like it might a little bit.
I mean, when you think about it too, right? AI has advantages. So if you're a small organization and you use it, you can get a lot more done. But you're also defending against countless other organizations out there that may be nefarious, that are using it too.
Sure. Now, there's a lot of excitement, also a lot of caution around AI. Still a lot that we do not know, and the evolution has been so rapid that it's hard to kind of keep up with. What should public sector leaders keep in mind as they consider AI-powered cybersecurity tools?
I mean, with any AI, whether it's their defensive tools or how they're using it internally, you just have to know where that data is. You know what I mean? Because like ChatGPT, you type your password in there, now that's part of the internet. You know what I mean? It's no different than a Google search. And so we always say the first thing is realize where that data set is. So like Copilot is a perfect example of where it's following the same rules as your email. So if it's safe in your email, it's safe in Copilot. So there's always that, with these AI tools, Tyler included, like, you ask those questions. Where's my data going? Does anyone else have access to it? Is it becoming part of a bigger model? Those are the things that people have to think about now, because this, it's all part of when big data started. Is like where is this data, and where is it going, and who's using it, who has access, blah blah blah.
Sure.
I think along those same lines, I mean, you may know where your data is, but if you work with third parties, are they using AI? What are their policies like? How is your data being used by a third party that legitimately has access, but maybe sharing it with fourth parties?
Yeah, I think what was the rule of thumb I've heard is that, like, if it's something that you don't want shared broadly on the internet, it's probably not best to share with the generative AI tools.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, again, the case in ChatGPT because it's out there. But if you're doing things in Copilot, that's okay. You've already got your list of social security numbers in your Excel sheet. That's if you say, hey, do a pivot table of the socials by this, that's fine. Because it's all protected by Microsoft's rules that's governing your instance of O365.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Tyler Tech Podcast. Every day, public sector leaders are rethinking how technology supports their communities.
And more than ever, they're finding the answer in the cloud.
From streamlining operations and reducing technical debt to creating the flexibility to adopt AI and other emerging tools, cloud infrastructure is transforming how governments deliver services.
It's not just about migrating systems, it's about building a smarter, more resilient foundation for modernization, security, and innovation.
At Tyler, we understand how governments are making that shift, the trends driving adoption, ways to maximize long-term value, and the steps to make your journey a success.
Check out the resources in our show notes to learn more about the cloud advantage and how you can take the next step towards a government that's built to adapt.
The future of government is in the cloud. Now let's get back to the Tyler Tech Podcast.
And now with attacks kind of growing more sophisticated day by day, how can agencies take a more proactive approach to defending against the innovation that's happening on the cyber criminal side of things?
You know what you do well internally. And if you know that you need help in some areas, look for organizations to help you. I think that's a really big thing. It's hard, I think, for a lot of small organizations to have 24/7 monitoring. And you're often behind the eight ball if if you don't have a 24-hour SOC. It's a big deal.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to just awareness, training. Sadly, the weakest point of almost anyone's organization is their employees. They just have to be aware what to think of, what to look for, what are those patterns or things that someone's trying to get me to do. You call me, it sounds like Josh. I trust that it's Josh, but you're asking me for iTunes cards of some amount. It's like, well, does that make sense? Like, can I reach out in Teams? Okay, use another method. So like, what are those things? Like, when the story doesn't seem right, what are my other avenues to reach out to someone? Because seems weird to say, but you can no longer trust just a phone call.
Yeah, that trust element is definitely a big factor.
I think that's where your internal processes come in as well. When you think, for example, you've got an accounts payable department, accounts receivable department, there are verification procedures for a reason. And what leadership can really do is reinforce to their staff that this is what we want you to do. If someone says they're me, or if, and I call you to say bypass this, that's a red flag.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice and great approach, thinking about how other folks get authentication from folks. Now, at Tyler, you obviously both work closely with clients and teams across the country. Are there any real-world insights or lessons learned you can share or highlight about successful resilience and what that looks like in action?
No organization will ever have every control perfect. But it's not always a good thing to say we've never been attacked, because what we often find is you have and you just don't know yet.
Right.
And that's the reality. I think part of it is accepting that there are going to be weaknesses and figuring out how to bolster your controls to minimize those. I think the other thing that I've learned is it's very difficult sometimes for change to be brought up from, your core staff up to leadership, and whatever can be done to have leadership proactively engage their staff to show their support in putting in some of these changes that will really protect their environments. Like having management support things like multi-factor authentication. Yes, it's an extra step. It's not fun. But in the long run, that's going to prevent a lot of work down the road.
From both of your perspectives, for agencies who want to strengthen their cybersecurity posture, where should they start? What frameworks or approaches can help guide them without really needing to start from scratch necessarily?
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing is frameworks aren't a one-size-fits-all, but you can make frameworks work for you. The biggest thing is the National Institute Standards has the cybersecurity framework. They just released 2.0. I think it was in 2024. So, that's a big piece of it. A lot of states also align with it. So it's very recognized. Other things that people can look at if you get a small organization might be, I think it's CIS controls, CIS. They're a good place to start. But the reality is you're always going to start from wanting to understand what do you currently do today and what your risks are. So even before you start mapping out a framework, you want to know what your risks are so you can take a look at how you can improve in those areas.
And to piggyback on what she said is a lot of times if someone's doing nothing, we just want to start with a conversation. What are your concerns? What are you doing today? And just going from there, because some organizations are doing a lot and it's great to hear. And other organizations, I don't want to say they're not doing anything, but very little. And so just having that first conversation is really where we'd like to start, just so we can kind of guide what we can do for them or suggest for them.
Do you hear that a lot on the show, right? Where it's like, take the small steps you need to then, find that success in the long run. But you have to start somewhere. And no matter kind of where you start, it's going to be helpful.
In some site, it's like this game where there could be 1,000 things that you need to do to have this situation that's 99% safe. But if you did 4 of those, you're at 95. You know what I mean? And so it's like this, you got to pick and choose what you can do and what your organization consume. You can't turn on everything at once because now business isn't getting done. So sometimes, yes, we need to turn these on, but we need to change these processes first. So start small.
Start small. Now, as you both look ahead, I know we can't predict the future, obviously, when it comes to cybersecurity, but how do you see the cybersecurity landscape continuing to evolve? And what should public sector leaders be preparing for today, in your opinion?
I mean, the reality is there's still a lot of legacy technology out there. And that's going to be where your core investments are going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So really understanding what your weaknesses are in that area and looking at, what current technology we have and how that can bolster your defenses.
Yeah, and I think kind of back to the training thing, make sure at some level, both your IT staff that should be trained, but also investing in your employees and making sure they're trained, and just try to keep up with those things, get involved with the right programs that are keeping up for those things for you. So you don't have to be informed, like this program you're using for your employee training is getting updated each year. Because a lot of stuff we see, had someone known, they probably would have seen the signs, you know what I mean? Or known to do something a little different. And a lot of they're not aware.
Yeah, like you definitely don't want to your point, not be aware of something and then suddenly you're dealing with a major issue. That sounds not ideal. So to kind of wrap things up, for leaders listening today who want to take action, what would be one piece of advice you'd offer to help them strengthen cybersecurity or build that sort of resilience within their systems starting now?
Ask questions. I mean, really try to understand your environment and where your staff may be struggling, and they may just be doing things that they've done for years. And sometimes just proactively asking, what's your pain point today? What's preventing you from getting other stuff done? Can give you a lot of insight.
I agree. It's really just asking those questions, like, what are our critical services? Like, there's certain things that our clientele need to keep online 24/7. So we pay attention to that. What's the impact if our town website goes down? Is that the end of the day? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If that's where our 911 information is, that is a big deal. So like understanding where the critical touch points to their constituents are, that's how they'll get support when the citizens can realize, oh yes, we need to spend effort on this because it ensures this. They'll get buy-in, and it all works out because you're getting the constituents behind it and getting the support they need.
I think it all comes down to just being proactive when it comes to cyber resilience. Well, Sonya and Ryan, thank you so much for both sharing your expertise and insights today. Really enjoyed having you both on the podcast. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we heard today, cybersecurity continues to grow more complex, and artificial intelligence is accelerating that change. But with change comes opportunity. Public sector leaders can use this moment to build cultures of awareness, adaptability, and shared responsibility. Ryan and Sonya highlighted why keeping people at the center, asking the right questions, and starting small are key to building resilience in an AI-driven world. This conversation is just part 1 of our Cybersecurity Awareness Month series. In part 2, out in just a couple weeks, you'll hear from Tyler's Tim Walsh on how agencies can strengthen their teams and empower their workforce to play an active role in cybersecurity. Check out the show notes for more resources, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Fill out the listener survey linked in the notes, or reach out anytime at podcast@tylertech.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show so you never miss an episode. For Tyler Technologies, I'm Josh Henderson. Thanks for listening to the Tyler Tech Podcast.